All right. I'm just gonna try to do a quick little stream, like keep it down to like an hour. Let me just make a quick announcement here. Everyone doing a short stream. Let me see if I can go to my channel. Copy this. How do I copy this? Do this. All right, yeah, so the plan is like I only want to time box myself for an hour. So at 5:24, I'm just going to cut the stream off. But I'm just going to try to make a pastebin clone. And basically, a user can go in and like, I don't know, like have some text and paste it. Then they get like a unique URL that they can use to send to other people. I don't know if we'll accomplish much in an hour, but let's just go ahead and create the application. So I'm using the T3 stack. There's a tool you can kind of run to generate it. And it's pretty cool. It gives you like a walkthrough of some stuff that you might want to choose. I'll just call it like paste bin clone or something. Ask you for TypeScript. I want to use Prisma. I want to use Tailwind and TRPC. I can't use NextAuth. That's cool. I'm on React 18 right now, but I say yes. npm run, yes. So honestly, like I don't know if I'll answer too many people in chat because I just want to see how much I can get built done in like an hour, but we shall see. And I'll try to answer some questions. Yeah, I'm going to be using Tailwind, TRPC, Next.js. It's like 5 o'clock here right now or something. Or 4, I don't know what time I said. It's 4:25. All right. So when you create this application, let me just go ahead and open that folder. What did I call this? I called it like paste and clone. And when you first create the app, I think you can say like npx prisma migrate dev, and that will create your initial migration script and set up your SQLite database. So let us see like what the Prisma file looks like. It's always good to kind of start with your data if you're working with like a full stack database and all that type of stuff. But we want to store snippets of text, right? So the idea is like as a user, you get into the application, you have a text area, you click submit, and that's going to save some text somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and say like a snippet. I think that's how you spell snippet. Make sure I spell this right. Snippet of text, yeah. And the snippet is going to have a unique ID, so an auto-generated unique ID. That's cool. But we also want some text. And I don't know if there's like a limit to how much text you can put. I'm just going to put it as a string, and we'll find out if this works or not. But I guess we need to make it required too, so I'm not going to put a question mark. So anytime you change a data model in Prisma, you have to rerun your migrations. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and rerun this, and it's going to ask me like what I want to call this. I'm going to say adding snippet. That'll create a migration script, which you can see here. That's going to create your table, run it against your SQLite database, and give you 2 columns, ID and text. npm run dev. Let's go ahead and get this started. All right, so right off the bat, we have a fully functional full stack Next application that's connected to Prisma. And the first thing I want to kind of do is I want to go to the pages. So I'm going to say pages and just go to the index page here. And let's just delete a lot of stuff we don't need. We'll keep that for reference, and we'll keep the head, keep the main, but all this other stuff, like we don't really need all this. And delete all this too. Yeah. Container, I'll just say like paste bin clone. Yeah, I don't want to use varchar because I do want them to be able to paste in like large snippets of code. So like I don't want to limit how many pieces of text they can put into the column. Maybe you want to put some type of upper limit onto it just in case. But this is just using MySQL local. Let me go to the chat real quick. So people are asking if this is a local database. Yeah, I'm using SQLite local. Yeah, I could do npx prisma db push as well. I haven't really looked into like the difference between them. I know the T3 stack says to use Prisma push. I don't know if there's like one that you want to use over the other. I'm so used to using migrate dev. But let's make like a text area here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say like text area. And as the user types, I mean, we're probably gonna need a submit button too, right? So I'm gonna do a button, I'll say like save snippet. Maybe I'll put some text here just to kind of explain like what we're doing here. So please feel free to paste in a snippet of text or code, and you will get back a unique UID to view it at any time. I'm not really going to worry too much about styling, so like don't judge this too hard if it doesn't look too good, but off the bat, I mean, we can give this some like gap of like 4 or something so we can kind of space these things apart. And yeah, let's just focus on the actual functionality. So when they type into the text area, I want to basically track what they're typing, and I want to put that in state. So up here, I'm just going to say like const snippet and set snippet equals use state. Go ahead and let it equal an empty string for right now and just like auto import that. And then when they type here on change, I'll say set snippet of e.target.value just so I can kind of put the text that they're typing into this. And one thing that you can do as you're like verifying this is just print out like some state to the page. It's like the fastest way to check if stuff is working. And right now, you know, it's all hooked up correctly. You can also like use the dev tools if you really want to. You can kind of hover over whatever component and check the state down here. But feedback loop is usually quicker if you just print it out to the page. Yeah, so let's go ahead and make that button a little bit nicer. So BG blue 200. And when I hover over the button, I want to change it like this. Maybe that looks okay. Text white. Probably give it some padding. Padding of 2 maybe. And rounded. That look pretty good. Kind of the contrast is kind of bad, so I think I actually need to change this to like 400, 500. I bet you this would fail Lighthouse if you hovered over this. Yeah, so like I said, I probably won't be checking chat as often as I normally do on my live streams because I just want to keep this short. Like I tried to record a video and publish it today, but for some reason YouTube's just having an issue like actually processing it. So I'm just kind of doing a quick stream to get something out there. The text area, let's also kind of style this because right now it looks pretty rough. I'll go ahead and give this like a border just so we can actually like see what's in it, and go ahead and give it a padding. If I do width full, is that going to make it full screen? Yeah, I'll do that. Width of like 1/3. How about that? Can you do that? Anyway, height of 1/3 as well. Is that how you change the height? I'll just hard code it to 48. How about that? All right, so the idea is the user can come in and say like hello world and click save snippet. And we want to take this text that they typed in. We want to persist that somewhere, right? So let us delete this little snippet while we're doing, and let's try to implement that. So what would probably also help me to stay on track is like make a to-do, and I'm going to say allow the user to persist the snippet text to the database. And that would involve creating a TRPC route, or I guess I should call it a mutation. We already created the model, create model for snippet in Prisma. We already did that, and we created the migration script and we ran that, so it should be good. I think that's about it. I mean, we'll figure this out. So on click of the button, we're going to say handle save snippet. How about that? We don't have that method created yet, so let's go up here and let's make one at the top of this page. Const handle save snippet. And what this is going to do is we need to actually invoke a mutation. We haven't created a mutation yet, and if you're kind of new to TRPC, I can kind of walk you through how you do that. Let's go to our TRPC router, and this is like the default router that was given to us when we did a T3 app creation. Yeah, sorry, I was going to stream this morning. Decided we instead just work on editing a video, and I never got it done, so I didn't publish it. But yeah, so to do, what are we doing? We're creating a TRPC mutation. Okay. So we're trying to make a mutation method we can call that's going to basically persist this text to a database table. And if I go to the mutation, which is, I guess, this one, one thing I really dislike about Node is a lot of people like naming index.js for all their files. So then in your top browser, like your top nav, like you have like all these index files that give you no context, like which one's opened. I hate projects like that. I need to come through and rename some stuff, but I'm just kind of complaining at this point. Let's make a merge on the example router. I'm gonna call this snippet. And this could be a snippet router. And this could be snippet. Go ahead and rename that. We don't need a query at this point, but we do need a mutation. So there's two methods you can use on TRPC. There's query and there's mutate. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a mutation. And I want to make a mutation called like create snippet, or you could say save snippet if you want to keep it consistent with your front end. I think it's always good to make your front end and back end logic. If you own the full stack, like make the names kind of be consistent. Because in the front we call it save snippet. The button says save snippet. So don't like go over here in the database and call it create snippet, in my opinion. Like keep it consistent. And this is going to take in some text. We don't want it to be able to be nullish, so I'm going to delete that. Nullish allows you to like make it optional, but we want this to be required, right? So how do we persist this thing into Prisma? Turns out you have access to a context, and when you do like this T3 setup, I'll check the chat in just a second, but I want to get this little feature done. So we can do context.prisma.snippet, I think we called it. And then I'm going to say create. And this takes in a data property, and we can just go ahead and save some text, right? The ID is auto-generated, but I'm going to take the input that the user sent from the front end. I'm just going to persist that right here. We can go ahead and await on this as well. Like we could probably, I think we could add async here. I think that'll work as well. All right, so that'll save it. But then we actually want to get the snippet, and we probably want to return that back to the front end, right? Because sometimes, like when you create a snippet, you need to know what ID was auto-generated from the backend. So I definitely want to return it here. Yeah, let's just try this out. So the backend is created. We should be able to create and persist the snippet, and then we return the new snippet that was created. Now for the front end, and I need some water. My voice keeps cracking. We're going to make a mutation. So instead of saying hello TRPC use query, I'm going to say use mutation, and I'm going to say snippet. And check this out. I get some autocomplete here. I can say save snippet. That's the method we just created. And I want to send some text, right? So instead of just hard-coded from TRPC, I want to send back the state here. So I probably want to move this down a little bit to do this. And I'm going to call this snippet. And we want to get the snippet text. So I'm just going to do this. All right, so let's see what we're doing wrong, because we are getting some errors in TypeScript. Cannot redeclare a block scoped variable snippet. So I got two variables called snippet, which I'll call this snippet text. And I think there's a way to like easily rename this. I think it's like fn f2, and I'll just do this, and that'll replace it everywhere in your file. So I probably should have done that instead. In this thing, I need to make it like a controlled. So let me just go ahead and put the value of snippet text. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so I don't need, when you're doing a mutation, you don't need to send like arguments here. You actually do that at a later point. So let me delete that, because TypeScript is super confused about what I'm doing. And now we have this TRPC variable that actually has a couple of methods on it. The method we care about is snippet.mutate. And in fact, I'm going to say mutate async, because we're probably going to get back that snippet created. I'm going to say newly created snippet. I don't know if I spelled newly created right, but newly created. So we're going to do an await on that, and we're going to pass some text, and the text is going to be the snippet text that we kind of did. Okay. So hopefully I haven't lost you all. I know I'm going pretty quick, but I just want to get something done before this hour runs up. So they type into the text area, That sets the snippet text. We bound this text area to the snippet text. When you click on the button to save it, it's going to then call this method here. That's going to invoke our TRPC mutation, and that is going to hopefully create it in the backend and return it to us. And let's just go ahead and console log real quick. We want to make sure that we're getting the thing that we are supposed to be getting. I'm going to try console table. I know I just made like a short about it, so I might as well just use it. So the moment of truth, let's see if this works. If I go back to the UI, I'm going to type in like hello world. And I'm going to go to my console. I'm going to click save snippet drum roll, and it looks like it created it. We have back an ID that was uniquely generated, and we have some text that was persisted. And another cool way to check this is you can go ahead and run Prisma Studio. So npx Prisma Studio. That's going to open up a page at port 5555. We can go into our snippets and we can see like all the snippets we created. So as I keep on like creating some, Prisma Studio should have those persisted. So we're actually saving stuff into our database, and that whole flow seems to be working pretty well. I think the next steps, I'm going to check chat in just 2 seconds, but I think the next steps are we just allowed the user to persist those. So I'm going to go like this. I probably should like said create new Prisma model for the snippet. What's the next steps we should do? Probably redirect the user to a snippet page where they can view their snippet. And then probably also give the user a link they can copy to their clipboard or something. Anyway, yeah, so let's go to the chat and let's see what I might have missed. Let's see. Yeah, sorry y'all for making a stream at like midnight at your time. Usually I do them at like pretty early in the morning, but it just didn't work out today. Let's see. What's up, Abudai? Abdulrahman. Yeah, we are using Tailwind in this project. Kua asks how I'm doing. I'm doing pretty good. Voided name. Oh, welcome, welcome. I guess I'll lurk at least once. Yeah, feel free to lurk and give feedback as I'm just hacking away. Yeah, I haven't done next auth with the JWT stuff, but I mean, it seems like it's pretty straightforward. It looks like you just have to like change the authentication method or something. I've just been using the server sessions because I mean, like most of the stuff I'm working on is small scale, and it's okay to have like a session stored in your server, your database. Are we using section HTML tags? I don't think I have any, but I could probably do that. That's one thing I never really read much up on. Like adding a section, I guess, is for like the semantics, but honestly, are you saying like I should put a section around this and a section around this or something? I need to go read up on it. Like, what does it actually provide anyone at all? Wrapping some of the stuff in sections, unless it really helps with accessibility and screen readers. But I don't think it does. But call me out. You can tell me if I'm wrong. So Abdul Rahman says I can use db var character to limit the characters in the db field. Can't wait to be able to code like this. Yeah, it takes a while, but you get good at it. What is the benefit of migration? I mean, if you do npx, oh yeah, I kind of already answered these, didn't I? I need to go read up on that. I think db push is like, they recommend you use this if you're using like planet scale. I don't know what the difference of it is. I feel bad not knowing, but there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and nor do I really care to look up sometimes. Let's see. I noticed that the author used an SS modifier. I don't know what SS is. I don't think I've ever used an SS modifier. At least it doesn't ring on the top of my head. I might have mistyped something if I did. I think it's a custom breakpoint. Maybe it stands for small screens. Is this a recording that I can follow along with it later? Yeah, I'm going to publish this, so don't feel like you have to watch it all. I don't know why I just went to the bottom. I'm not focusing too much on accessibility. I mean, for the most part, if you just use the normal like buttons in HTML, like people can tab over to it. Like right now, I can easily tab. That's the main thing is tabbing, and then screen readers. Like you could probably put ARIA labels on this if you wanted someone with a screen reader to be able to go and like get that information. But I'm not really focusing on accessibility right now. It's crazy. As you actually work this question, I can't code without the Explorer. I go nuts. You'll be surprised. As your project gets bigger, you don't need the Explorer. In fact, the Explorer slows you down. Like, you know that you need to go to a page, so you do like Command P, pages, slash, and then you need to go like to an example page or like your app page, right? So as you get more familiar with your project and your project just grows in size, like once you have thousands of files, you're just super inefficient going and clicking through subdirectories and all this other stuff just to find what you want. When really, if you just want like a TRPC endpoint, right there, I'm right there. In fact, I could try to just code the entire time without using any type of Explorer, but I think it helps to be able to see what files I'm going to for you all. I think someone also told me I could do like a Command T. Yeah, Command T does like the hash symbol, so I could easily find like, what am I looking for? Save snippet. Oh, like handle save snippet. I think I did a short on this. If you do Command T, I believe, and I can say handle API request or handle save snippet, that takes you right to the definition of that method. So sometimes you have like these methods in your head that you want to go to, and instead of like doing a full project search to find it, you can just like Command T it and go to it. Super, super efficient to learn how to use that well. I did not see that change, but that'd be really useful because it's really annoying to have like write a node script and then you have to make like a function that has an async await and then like you self-execute it just so you can get the await functionality. I'd rename that snipped. Did I call something wrong? It's a repository or a controller or service, or not sure exactly since I don't know what TRPC is. Yeah, I can kind of address that. I'm not really doing clean architecture or any type of like layered tiers in this code. Because one thing I noticed is that when you do that, it kind of like destroys your TypeScript inference. What's going on? What are you doing? I'm just trying to build like a little project in TRPC, the T3 stack. I don't know if this is true. I don't think JWT has large security holes. If you do it correct and have like a short-lived token and don't leak your refresh tokens, I think it's okay to use. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so I don't even know what other features. I guess I could just redirect the user to the next page once they've created their snippet. All right, so we are going to basically go to the index page. And when the user actually creates that snippet, we're going to try to redirect them to a different page. So let's just go ahead and try to do that. In next, you have a router. So I can say const router is equal to use router. And we can simply say router.push. And I can go to like, what should we go to? Let's go to a page called like snippets. And then probably go to your snippet ID. Like this. All right, so when you create the snippet, we're going to redirect the user to a snippets page. We haven't created that page yet, so it'd probably be useful to create that. And there's also ways to create files without touching your file browser too, if you get good at it, but I don't remember off the top of my head. So we'll make a folder called snippets. This is how like the file-based routing works in Next. You can make a folder called snippets, and that's going to designate your path here. And then in here, I can make a file. I think I can call it like id.tsx. And I'll call this like the snippet page. All right, so what we're trying to do is like when you go to the snippet page, first of all, let's make sure this works. So let's just go to like snippets ABC. That should take us to a new page that says hi. Okay, so that's a good sign this is working. But we really want to fetch the snippet from the backend and display the text somewhere on a different page. So the first thing we need to do is get the ID that was in the URL. So if someone types ABC, we have to get that from the URL here. In fact, let's just use a real ID so we can actually get some real feedback. And I don't remember how to do this. I think I can just use the router. I can say const router is equal to use router. And let's see what methods we have on here. I think we have like query, and that might have an ID on it. Let's do this. All right, so now we're actually getting the ID from the top URL here. We're displaying that. But what we want to do is we probably want to format this page a little bit. Probably needs a head. Go ahead and do this. Make sure I import the right head. Sometimes I do that. I'll import like the wrong thing because Next has like multiple things called the exact same thing. And then your app just doesn't work and you waste like 10 minutes trying to figure out why. It's because you imported the wrong thing. Let's go back to the index. And we're going to try to fetch the snippet. Okay, so let's go to do and let's go ahead and say like make a TRPC query to fetch the snippet text from the database. And in the front end, I'll just go ahead and say like invoke that query method like so. All right, so let's go back to our router and go to the snippet router. And instead of mutation, I'm going to do another one called query, which you can pass it a string. So in this case, I'm going to say like get snippet. And that's going to take in no inputs. Like we don't care about what the user inputs. Let me take that back. We do actually care about what they input. So we are going to go ahead and just copy all of this in. We'll figure this out in just a second, but we do require an ID. So I'm going to require a snippet ID to be passed in. And I'm going to go ahead and use that ID to get back the snippet. So I can say .find unique, I believe. And instead of data, I'm going to say where. And I'm going to go ahead and just say ID where input ID is. And there's no authentication over any of this stuff, honestly. So this is just like a non-prod ready application. In fact, I don't know if you need auth because these are really unique IDs, I think. So someone would have to guess at your unique snippet ID to be able to like see your code you're uploading. But yeah, so we have a new query that the front end should be able to call. All it does is it does a query against Prisma, against the snippet table to find the exact record that has that matching snippet ID. So going back to the front end, oops, we have this. How do we do that, right? So we need to create a query variable. So I'm going to say const get. I'm just going to call it snippets equals trpc dot use query. In fact, let me auto import this one. And we want to use the query called snippets dot. Did I import the wrong TRPC? Utils TRPC. Utils TRPC. I guess I'm kind of confused why the autocomplete did not work here. Oh, I think I need to pass in an array. That's why. So pass in an array, but then you also need to pass it, I believe, an ID. So I can say like const ID is equal to, actually I can just do this. String or array of string is not assignable to type string. Type string is not assignable to type string. One thing I hate about TypeScript is like the errors that you read are so cryptic. And maybe it's because I haven't spent the time to understand like what it's saying. The expected type comes from property ID, which is declared here on the type ID of string. Oh, okay. I think I just need to say like this is a string. But then this will crash because is not assignable to type string. Do I do this? I don't know. But let's just see if this works. This should be able to give us access to the snippet data. So if I will go ahead and just like try to print out snippet of text, or I'm sorry, it's called snippet data. It says it could be potentially undefined. Type snippet null undefined is not assignable to type React node. Type snippet is not assignable to. Oh yeah, it's because I'm trying to actually print out like an object, not the text. All right, so all that just so we can display whatever the snippet had in it, okay? So now at this point, like I can give this URL to anyone else, they can go to it and they'll see that text. We want to kind of format this a little bit. Like we could maybe make another text area. And we could inside the text area, like we could just, I don't know if it needs to be on the value or if we can just put it directly in. Let's just put on the value for right now. Don't need a name or an ID. And honestly, columns, and I don't know why it gave me all these things. Like honestly, we just need to do like width of 32, height of 32, disabled. And let's just go ahead and kind of fix the indentation a little bit. That's still too small. I'll do like width of 64. And we should probably put this on like a, like do some more styling here, kind of like we did on the other page where we did container, MX auto, and that'll push it to the center. I think flex, justify, center will push all that stuff to the center like this. And I'll go to the chat in just a second, but let's just go ahead and say like your snippet of ID. Give it a class name of font bold, text 4XL. Oh, I should probably flex this column. So flex column, that'll make all the contents go like vertically when you flex column it. But I think I wanted to center it too. Yeah, let's just go back to chat. Let's see. I would say don't use state management until you decide you really need state management. Like it's okay to use context. It's okay to use prop drilling. I know people say that you shouldn't use it because it becomes unmanageable, but when stuff actually becomes unmanageable, like you literally can't work on your project anymore because you're confused, then you need to bring in something else. Like I like using something simple like Zustan. I don't like Redux. You can use Redux Toolkit if you want. But so the extension that I'm using that shows errors is called ErrorLens. So if I go ahead and just like break this error text that's popping up, that's from an extension I have called ErrorLens, which I think if I go here, ErrorLens, it looks like this. And if you're not using TypeScript, like a lot of these things you won't even get errors with. So you kind of have to be using TypeScript to get the actual like useful feedback. Navigate. Yeah, let's look at that. Next, navigate to a new page. Okay, not that. Next.js, navigate. I thought you could just use the router and just do a push, but maybe there's other ways you can do it. I'm not sure why it took me to a page that like had a tutorial. Okay, let me just see if there's a search button. Go to the docs real quick. I'm gonna say router. Migrating from React router, router.push. Took me a while, but I found it. So typically the way I've been doing it is you use the router and you push new URLs. Someone mentioned the keyword navigate. I haven't used that before in Next, so I don't know if maybe you're, I mean, you might be right. Maybe there's like a navigate function, but I've never used it in Next, so maybe I'm just ignorant to that. Yeah, so we got your snippet here. I think it'd be cool to like be able to press a button and just like copy the text. maybe we can try to do that. I think we might need to install a third-party library to do that. So let's find a npm clip copy to clipboard. It has 5 million weekly downloads, so hopefully it's good. Copy text, copy with options. So I think you just call the function and it's going to put it on your clipboard. So we can try installing this. It says the build is failing, so don't know why. Let's try installing copy the clipboard and let's try using it. So if I just go ahead and copy the package, we want to basically we want to add a button here. I don't know, it could be like a button that says copy to clipboard. Just like that. But when you click on it, on click, we're going to go ahead and call a function called handle copy to clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and make that. So const handle copy to clipboard is equal to a function. That's just going to call copy on the actual snippet.data. So I'm going to say snippets.data.text. Now I think there's a chance this could be undefined. So I'm going to say if it's not defined, don't allow them to copy it to your clipboard. All right, so let's go back to the page, and now we have a button that's not styled. So let's just go ahead and style this a little bit. And we did style it over on this page, so I'm just going to copy this class name, and I'm just going to paste it right here. And we can go back and like clean that up in a second. But now I should be able to like click on this. And now we got the text copied directly to our clipboard. That's pretty cool. Yeah, let's go back to chat. Is any questions? Where are your stream and VODs stored? I can never find them. You have to go to YouTube's UX is kind of bad, but you have to go to, I think, videos, and then you have to go to click here and click past live streams, and then they'll show up. I don't know why they make it so complicated. Like, why couldn't they just put something called shorts here and then like another link that says live streams instead of having this strange obscure drop down? But that's how you find it. You go to videos and then you click on this drop down, past live streams. Is that the VS Code IDE? Yep, I'm using the VS Code IDE. Let's see. Anu Sign says, hey, love your videos. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Well, let me fix my phone real quick. Okay. Yes, this video will be available to watch later. Someone asked, Luke asked, does TypeScript natively display inline errors, or is this an extension? I think this is an extension I'm using that kind of puts the errors in your face. Otherwise, like the only, like you get this little red thing down here, and that's the only way to see you have errors. I don't know why VS Code does that. It's like so not useful. Hi, will you build something using Xstate? I've never used Xstate before, so no, probably not. Maybe in a future video I might. Juam Sarah says, why you don't use link? The reason I'm not using link is because I don't have a use case to use link. Okay, I'm trying to force the user to automatically redirect to a page. I don't want to actually have a link on their screen that they have to click to go view their snippet. The functionality I'm trying to do is like once that snippet is fully created, push them to a new page for them automatically. So that's why I'm not using the link. Instead, I'm using router.push. Sometimes you dynamically want to force people to new pages because that's just how the UX needs to go. Voided name says maybe it's a reference to React Router 6. Yeah, maybe it is. I've always used use router in next. Why not use Navigator to copy to clipboard? That's a good point. Maybe I could. I've never used that before, to be honest with you all. So let's just go ahead and try that out and see if it does the exact same functionality as what we just did. Because saving yourself a npm install is probably a good idea. So let's see if this works as well. I'm gonna go back to my app I'm gonna go back to the home page and just type in like what is up, save it, copy it to the clipboard, and it works. So there you have it. You could just use Navigator, Clipboard, write text, and I guess it does the exact same thing. So I guess I'm curious, why would we even need to install this? Maybe it gives you special formats you can use on it or something. It does not work on older devices. I kind of wonder if Navigator copy to clipboard works on which browser support. It might not be supported on some browsers. When was this written? 2019. So this might be outdated, but they said the Clipboard API is relatively recent and not all browsers implement it. It works on Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Opera, whatever it's called. So maybe there's a reason to why you want to use like this other package. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, if you're not using a modern browser, we don't need to support you. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that package JSON, and like, we don't need copy anymore. Let's just delete that. What other features should we add? What does our to-do list say? Redirect the user. We did that. Give the user a link they can copy. Kind of did that. Although we didn't give them a link. It'd be cool to maybe generate the link and just like put the link for them. So let's go back to that page. And instead of displaying the snippet here, I'm just going to go ahead and like put a link here. And this could point to, I'll fix this in a second, but like, this probably needs to be like location.origin or however you do it. I have to go and look that up. It's not something I have like memorized. Probably should though. Okay, I'm struggling right now. What's going on with my syntax? So this thing, I need to put this out there. Is location origin like what you want? I think it is. So now, like if I was actually deploying this to production, I'd actually have like a real domain, and I could just click on this and say copy link, and then any user could just like go to this. Well, hold on a second. Location is not defined. That's weird. Oh, okay. So yeah, so sometimes this is the thing that I don't like about Next either, is when you're coding in Next, you have to like keep in your mind that all this code is going to run server side if you're using server side rendering, I believe. So when I first refresh the page, there is no location, I believe. So like, maybe I have to do something like this. Although I'm not really sure. If anyone knows in the chat what's going on here, like let me know. But honestly, this could be the ID. Location is not defined. Like I feel like I'm kind of onto something with like location not being defined. Let me just do a hard restart. Just in case I'm just doing something wrong. The error happened while generating the page. Yeah, so it's like trying to generate the page, and I don't know, maybe I need to say like if window is defined, which I forget how you check in next how to know if rendering on server. I think you have to like check the window or something. Yeah, is this the hack you have to use? I don't know. I know someone on the stream who has much more Next experience can tell me exactly what I'm doing wrong, but I think it's something to do with this. So like when you are on the server, the window will not be defined. So like don't render it, maybe? All right. All right, chat. Help me out here. Of course, I'm dumb. Yeah. Why am I using origin? Like, you know, sometimes like you're coding and like you just do something really dumb. Like this could just be a link, right? I don't need to check the window. Thank you so much, y'all, for the suggestions. Like sometimes simple things just, I don't know. Like you just forget the really basic stuff that you should be doing all the time. And I think being on a live stream helps with forgetting like the basics because you feel like you have to like talk and. But I guess I still want to show the link to the user here, right? Does that kind of make sense? Like I could still use a next link, but I guess will it have the full link here? That's my real question. Right? So like, you guys know what I'm trying to say? Like, how do I actually print out the current domain that I'm at? Location dot, what do we have here? Host name? Maybe that's what I'm going for. But I don't think it really matters because like the location is not going to be defined anyway, so. Well, I'm hoping someone will paste some code that'll tell me how to do this. It seems like a really basic use case that I'm trying to do. Yeah, window location. Am I just dumb? Window dot location. But even so, window dot location isn't defined. So like, I think the issue is that this thing is running on the back end trying to generate a page, but window dot location isn't actually defined. So I'd have to like only render this text out in certain conditions. I guess I could make this a function, get link URL. And then I can just say like if type of window is equal to undefined, return, otherwise return window dot location, all this stuff. Let me go ahead and do this. Like I wonder if I put it behind a function, if that would make any difference whatsoever, or if I'm just making this overly complicated. I give up. Use router and path name, cons path name. So this is, yeah, I guess this is one reason I kind of don't like Next sometimes. It's just like, if this was a single page application in like React, like this would be super easy to do. But for some reason, why am I putting it there? Let me put it here. I already have the router. So let me just do router.pathname. The context does not match. Let me put this back down here. Yeah, that's still not what I want though. Like I want the full URL so the user can like copy this. Router.pathname is not what I want. Yeah, I guess I could just have it as like a based URL. I have to use context. And it's like the simplest issue is like super hard to do for some reason. Try window location href. Because I think path name, that's just give me like the actual path. So like in next, this is my path. I'm here, which is why it's only printing out this. In fact, it's printing out like the brackets with the ID. Yeah, maybe there's another thing we can use. thought I remember Theo like complaining about this in a live stream where it's like super unintuitive to get like the origin of where this request came from. But this is running on the server, so there is no like origin. I wouldn't even know. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do what voided name suggested, which is like, I don't know, like what did he say? Just do an environment variable or something. There's so many suggestions. I don't know which one to try. I mean, let me try this one. Use location. Is that even built into Next? No, use location is not even a Next thing. So I can't use that. Router.base path. Let's try that. Nope, that doesn't work either. Next, all right, so location path name. We can't use location because it's rendered on the server and it crashes. You could just pass the host name with your .env. I might have to do that. And I'm not using a React router, so I don't think I can do that. As path string, the path as shown in the... Okay, anyway. At this point, I'm just wasting time, so let's just make like a .env file, and we're gonna go ahead and just put like... I don't know what's called, like base path of... There we go. I think this will just solve our problems. Is this the best approach? Probably not. I might have to prefix this with like next public or something. I forget like what it is. I have to go look that up. But let's see if that shows up anything. Okay, that doesn't work. Let me go next environment variables. I'm glad you guys are all watching me struggle. I just want you all to know, whoever watches my stream, like even though you've been coding in the industry for 10 years, there's stuff that you're just not going to remember. There's stuff that you're going to suck at doing. So humble yourself. Next public. Yeah, I thought that's how you expose it. So next public, base path. I'm setting equal to something. I restarted my server already. And I want to interpolate that here. But it keeps printing out. Okay, now it's working. I don't know. I thought I saved it and restarted everything. But I guess that's the approach that we kind of have to take. And I think when you deploy on Vercel, like they're going to give you an environment variable out of the box that you can use. Vercel provided environment variables. It just depends if you're going to deploy on Vercel or not, but API URL, is that what we typically use? I don't think that's it, but anyway, I mean, we got it displaying. When you deploy to prod, you're just going to basically set this to your real domain name, and then users can click on this thing, copy the link, and paste it back in. And now they have access to the snippet here. They can copy it to their clipboard and do whatever they want. Well, that was fun. Yeah, if anyone thinks there's a better way to do that, like you think that would be super simple to do, like I just need to get the location of, yeah, I guess I have to use some type of like lazy loaded component that dynamically fetches the location when it renders. We could try that just for fun because I'm not really good at the lazy loading stuff. So what I'm doing right now is like not actually useful, but we're going to try to do a dynamic component real quick. So on our page, let's try to call it a origin text. And this is going to come from components, which we don't have a components. I'm going to make a new one called origin text.tsx. Go ahead and do that. And I guess I need to go up to origin text. This is not how you do it. Am I going up the right level? So go up. I need to go up like 3 levels. I cannot find the module. Components, origin text. I probably didn't even save this file. So I've also never really done dynamic stuff. Like I don't work full time in Next. This is just like my side project playing around with stuff. But let's try this. And again, we've already solved this issue. I'm just playing around like trying to figure out if you wanted to learn more about Next, how would you do this? We're going to render that component right here, and then we're also going to put this snippet. Just get rid of that link for right now. I must be doing something wrong with the lazy loaded component. I likely forgot to export my component. Origin text. I probably need to export a default, don't I? Export default. Yeah, at this point, sorry, my kids are like screaming downstairs and stuff, but this should render out the text, right? So let's just try location dot origin. Wow, look at that. Okay, now it's not defined. Anyway, I mean, we already figured out a solution. I was just trying to figure out if there's like a weird hacky way we can get this to render out some text here. But again, it seems like it's not able to find location for some reason. Which is, I don't know why, because this is lazy loaded, right? So this shouldn't be ran on the server, I wouldn't think, right? I need to learn more about Next, I'll be honest with you all. Like, to dynamically load a component on the client side, you can use the SSR option to disable server rendering. Oh, I think someone actually just said that in the chat. SSR false, brother, and you can use window in that component. Awesome. All right, let me try that. And people watching this are probably like, dude, what's this guy doing? Right now, I'm just playing around to try to expand my knowledge. All right, so it works now. I don't know if this is the, obviously this is not how you're supposed to do it. But yeah, you can do that. You can lazily load in the text and then like do something like this, but we're not going to do that. Let's just go ahead and remove all this stuff and go back to what we're doing. So hopefully you guys learned something new about that. I sure did. Server-side rendering false, and you can have that thing not be rendered on the server. Things that I should be knowing about next, which I haven't learned yet. All right, I got like a couple more minutes. Let me just go ahead and see if there's any questions or suggestions that I probably missed. Make base URL constant. No one knows how server-side rendering works. I don't know how it works. I'll be honest, this is just like a hobby. Next.js is hobby for me, right? So if you're actually looking for someone who's built a large-scale application with Next, this isn't the stream you should be watching. But if you want to watch me struggle and learn how to learn it, then definitely check it out. Let's see, voided name. Another method would be to differentiate the runtime server and client, but that would mean we'd never be able to generate a link on the server side. So I'd use an environment variable. Yeah, I think that makes sense. You do have to restart the server, I believe, for .env. I'm not sure how far back these comments were. You should already have it in the T3 stack. There's a new feature. Yeah, I have to check out some more stuff. There's like a lot I need to read about next. Const router, use router, console log, base path, router, base path. I think we tried base path and it just doesn't work. Yeah, I can add an icon. I used PHP like back in 2013 for like 6 months just for fun. But yeah, I definitely agree it's a bad user experience, but it just seems kind of strange that there's not a simple way in Next to say like this little block, don't run it on the server. Like, why do I have to go and make a lazy loaded component, turn server-side rendering false? Maybe that's the approach, but I feel like there would be an easier way to do it. But I'm just complaining at this point. Yeah, I also had a question, like, I guess I'm not using server-side rendering, right? But Next is still going to take my application or take this page, and it's doing some type of generation on it. Like, I didn't think this would do any server-side rendering because I'm not exporting any get server-side props. But for some reason, Next is like trying to generate some type of static content using my code, and it crashes. So again, there's just more stuff that I need to read up on. If I'm using the latest Next, I thought I am. Actually, I don't know what version of Next I'm using. 12.2.3, is that the latest? So he's saying I don't need to do this, and I could just instead maybe put it on this. All right, I must not be on latest. Like, I think you actually mean like @ latest. Please use absolute paths. Are you saying like here? Like don't, like I should do this instead? Because that would be like a relative path, right? Oh, you're talking about importing. Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. Like absolute paths are cool, but at the same time, like your IDE fixes all the imports for you. If you just trust in your IDE's ability to like move files around and import stuff, like it does look messy having all these dot slashes, but at the end of the day, like, does anyone really manage these things? I would say no. Like my IDE just figures out where it needs to come from. And if your IDE gets confused with doing that stuff, I would probably find a better IDE. You can put base path in modules.exports. I would need to define a base path in next config. Next config base path. So you're saying if I were to go into my next config and define a base path, next config. And if I put a base path here, base path. Seems kind of not the use case. Like, I don't think the use case is doing something like this. But I could try doing what you're talking about. And then you're saying inside the router, I could say router.basepath. Look at us all just trying to figure out how URLs work in Next. Again, that's not working. I probably need to restart my server, don't I? Base path has to start with a slash. Yeah, so I don't think that's the use case you can use base path for, but maybe I didn't fully understand your question. Oops, let me restart this. All right, got too many tabs open. Let me close some of this stuff. There's a simple way to do it. Yeah, I mean, Devin, if you want to join my Discord and just send me a link, send me your code. I could try it out. I know there's probably an easier way to do this than what I'm doing. No, you can get rid of the anchor and put everything on link. Oh, is that what you're saying? What would I put the text as? Like this? Are you just saying do that? Ah, okay. Cool, yeah, I'll keep that in mind so you don't need to actually use the A tag. Does it actually wrap it though for accessibility? Like, is this actually wrapped in an A tag? I'm guessing it is, right? Okay. Cool, you learn new stuff every day. With next router, you can call base path. I don't know, I tried doing this stuff, but maybe I'm not fully understanding like what I need to be doing. Yeah, I guess that's good to know. I mean, like, it's strange that, like, I didn't say this is a server-side render page, so why are you trying to server-side render my page, you know? It's like, I don't know why the React community does stuff. Like even with React 18, with dev mode having like the strict mode where it's doing something completely different in development mode than production. Like I understand there's good intentions behind it, but at the same time, I don't want my code doing something very different from what production's doing. I want it to be identical to production, so I'm not caught off guard when I deploy and stuff just randomly starts breaking. But I would need to go read up on this. Like I have a static page that should be client-side rendered, but it's still trying to do something with it. Maybe I just have to like export some additional configuration from the page and just tell Next, like, do not do server-side rendering on it. Okay, yes, Next is always server-side rendering unless you say otherwise. Wait, so then what's the? I thought I read the docs in Next and like get server-side props. Like everyone always tells you that when you have a get server-side props function exported, that's when Next knows to like treat this as a server-side rendered pages. But maybe someone can point me to like the docs that tell us that. Because even if you go to the client-side rendering page, oh, this is client-side data fetching. Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe you actually have to say like get static props to turn it off for server-side rendering. Next, turn off server-side rendering for a page. Just show me some code. That's too much to read through. Yeah, anyway, I'm sure there's a way to like not do that stuff. I don't know anything about server components. I haven't learned that stuff yet. So like why do they not put it in the docs then? I feel like that's kind of a key thing where like you try to develop, you expect it to be client-side rendered and it's not client-side rendered until you actually run it in production. Super strange. Just use dynamic if you want it to be client-side rendered. Yeah, I guess that makes sense as well. Yeah, and I just went through all that stuff of like dynamically importing a component. I guess you're saying like what I could do is I could have this page dynamically import like a sub component here, and then I wouldn't have to worry about doing all this process EMB stuff, but probably need to wrap a client-side render. So if you the use effect won't run on the backend, is that what you're saying? Voided name, you can always define a custom hook. Do you mean a custom hook that has a use effect in it, or just a hook in general? Oh, thanks. Let's see. Pages with dynamic routes, pre-rendering by default. Next.js pre-renders every page. This means that Next.js generates HTML for each page in advance instead of having it all done by client side. Okay, so the pre-generation is kind of what's biting me in the butt here. Oops. Okay. I guess I'm kind of curious about this voided name. Like, I don't think just having the function say use on client will prevent it from being rendered, right? I mean, we'll try it out. Let's just try this out real quick so we can all educate ourselves, or maybe I can just educate myself. Let me make a hooks. Let me just do this. make a TSX. I'll just say const or export const use on client. And you're saying that if I were to basically console log location dot origin, and I use this on my page, it potentially won't crash because this hook is never actually going to be executed when I do my server-side generation. Okay, it does execute. So the only way to prevent it is to use an effect. So I have to say like use effect, and then I have to do some type of like on mount effect. And then I have to do like a const origin set origin equals use state. And then return the origin here. And this goes set origin of location.origin. This seems so hacky to have to do, but what do I know? I always forget, do you use lowercase strings or uppercase strings in TypeScript typically? So if I use this, will this actually run on the backend? It doesn't. So can I use this origin here? Instead of doing all of this, can I just do that? Wow. So there you have it. Use effect does not run on the backend, like it probably shouldn't. And you can kind of set up whatever you need if you wanted to get the origin. So like I could just rename this to use origin, like so. And I'm going to go ahead and refactor that. Interesting. Man, everyone in chat, you guys are pros. Yeah, I try to keep it casual. Like I want to show you guys like actually like how do I code live? Like if I was sitting next to you at work, like I just want to code like I'm normally doing at work. I'm not trying to prepare anything or have all this material and like have another monitor where I'm cheating off of, kind of show you content. I just want to like hack at the code, and if it takes me 20 minutes to debug something, then you guys get to see that live. Yeah, we did try this once and it worked pretty well. It just seemed like it was a lot of overhead just to get to make it a component not be server-side rendered. Because it's like, there's a lot of stuff in here that we could have be server-side rendered, right? There's no reason not to have this button be SSR'd or the text area. It's just this one little thing here. So we could either make a new component that wraps all this and dynamically import it with server-side rendering off, or just use a custom hook that uses like use effect. And that's how we can get the origin, because I guess use effects do not run when doing server-side rendering. Yeah, Dylan, I think I have to agree. I think a lot of Next.js is hacky. Like there's some stuff about Next that just seems kind of hacky. I don't really know. I haven't tried Remix yet, so I'm not able to compare Next to anything else. But there's just some stuff that like just seems kind of strange about it. It's not really intuitive, but I'm not going to bash it. I think it's still a great framework, but I couldn't make something better. I'll be honest with you all. I couldn't make Next. Can you show things from your actual work? No, I'd rather not, to be honest. Because I like to keep my YouTube life kind of separate from everything else. The environment check would avoid using effect and state and make it explicit that the return could be undefined, the alternative branch. Yeah, I think I definitely agree. I mean, I think I might be approaching it all wrong. Like this is a server-side rendering framework, like you said. So this type of data that we're fetching from the front end, we should probably be fetching it on like get server-side props. Because at this point, like what's the point of even using Next? Like I'm fetching the data from the front end with TRPC. And I think there's ways to configure TRPC like to work with the server-side rendering. Like let me try to find that. I don't even know where that's set up. I know there's like a place I saw it. That's probably the actual like lower level stuff. Is it the index? Is it the app? Here it is. So I think with TRPC, like there's a server-side rendering false, which you can turn this on, but you also need to like do some other stuff. So instead of me having to like do the use query on the front end, I could do something similar with like my Git server-side props, but I just haven't looked into it yet. Again, everything I do in Next is just like hobby stuff. We use a single page React application at work, so it's like I don't really have the ability to use Next on anything actual like production ready. Hopefully one day I can, because it seems like it's cool. Let's see. So Dylan, you're saying Next is less? Oh, Nux is less hacky. Okay, I haven't really used Nux yet, but I hear they're really similar. Nux is not a good option in my opinion. Simple auth modules is too much to ask from the team. Development is too slow. Next.js blurs the lines between front and back, and I'm not a fan of that. Yeah, I would agree with this. I mean, there's ways to structure your Next application so that you're like not coupling all of your data models and your business logic to your actual like UIs. But you just, it takes what people call over engineering to like split that out, and you have like a different folder for your business logic and your entities and your persistence layer, and then make sure you don't couple that with all your Next pages. All right, have fun, Void and Name. Thanks for joining the stream and for your feedback and stuff. All right, y'all. Yeah, I think it's been over an hour now, and we built out a little application where you can basically store one thing in a database and copy that and get a snippet for it. But if you guys want me to commit this to a repo somewhere, I probably can, and I can come back and update the description of this video. But I just wanted to do like a short 1 hour stream. I think I'm pushing like an hour and 10 minutes now. But I definitely appreciate you all giving me feedback. Like I've actually learned a lot about Next today, which is like the dynamic rendering and like how this stuff works with server-side rendering, and how you can like create workarounds to get around the just grabbing like something like window.location when the server-side rendering fires off. So before you all leave and before I drop, be sure to join my Discord if you want to talk to me directly, or be part of a community of people trying to learn how to code as well. I think we're all trying to learn every day, and just sharing our knowledge with others really helps the community become a better place. Yeah, be sure to subscribe, like the stream. I use Vercel when I'm trying to deploy like little side projects, but I don't like I said, like I don't use Next or Vercel or anything on any type of production software. So everything I'm teaching you, like take it with a grain of salt, because building a production ready app with production scale is much different from just building a little side project that I kind of do on my YouTube channel. But yeah, anyway, later all. Thank you for joining the stream, and guys, hope you had some fun and learned some new things today. Where is my stop stream button? I'm going to find it.